Hello and welcome to the video that will go over everything you need to know about Monster Hunter Stories 3 before its release in less than a day's time. First of all, starting with a quick rundown of the basics and then moving in to the real information and not the same copy-pasted information you would have seen in reviews or quick tips videos. I have purposefully kept myself unspoiled regarding the game's story, so no worries on that regards. Without further ado, let's jump into the main information that you need to know. First, let's quickly go over our main character. As you can see in the footage, you can go at any time and change your character's appearance and even their sex if you start feeling whimsical. If you're also like me and you just choose white, blue-eyed man with a greatsword, you may still want to have a look over the accessories as they can add a nice, unique flair to your character. And while typically I don't like this type of thing, but they do look especially well polished, and considering you are a prince in the story, it does kind of fit. You also have at the chest your armor colors and layered armor right from the very beginning, so for those of us who like to keep a style we like without forfeiting our stats, this is a nice early addition compared with previous titles in the series. Okay, next up is the blacksmith. One thing that did surprise me, especially about Monster Hunter Stories 3, is that the early weapons typically require a lot of materials. I show in the background here that several of these require around 10 monster part points, and then around 8 to 10 subparts. That's the things like ores, crystals, and other alternative monster parts. So if you see anything with like question marks, that's probably going to be a monster or a further upgrade that you've not quite gotten to yet. Ironically, while I wasn't able to make an iron gun lance, a beginning weapon, I was able to make a Nersella longsword, the Blood Cry, which only requires 6 basic parts to actually craft. And while I didn't personally choose it, you can browse through the weapons and find things that actually cost a lot less. So just see what you can make and obviously upgrade it as you go. A couple of recommendations for people regarding the armor. Early, if you can get lucky with the first encounter drops or find a couple of extra Chatacabras to fight. Their armor has some good skills, and also the Nersilla armor, which also has a couple of good skills on it. One being the anti-one-hit KO, which actually, considering the combat in this game, the only problem I have had is with just being completely one-shot, not even damaged. I've been full health, and one of the slightly overleveled monsters will just target you, and no matter what you do, you're basically dead. So this is a good early armor in my opinion. It's also got the elemental effect up skill in the medium variant, which for me personally, I was currently using the Nersilla Greatsword with sleep build-up, and that also will help you inflict more sleep build-up. And in one of the first battles I used it in actually, in one of the first hits, put the monster to sleep. Okay, next we move on to combat and the battle system. I'm not going to patronize you. The basics are, the basics. The key things to look out for in this game that are more advanced are when the monster angers or goes into a different appearance-based kind of state. In previous games, this was always like an angered state. You'd see the red eyes. And it seems they've developed this idea a bit further. So keep an eye on that. They'll always change their attack patterns. Also, pay attention on the other side of when Rudy, rest in peace Naviru, lets you know at the beginning of your turn that the monster has returned to its base natural state. It's no longer angry, it's no longer powered up, for example. That will also revert it back to its old attack pattern. If you can't manage to use a skill that's advantageous, you want to swap to a monster that's type is advantageous. In my experience, at every turn that you swap, the monster's first action will always be a basic attack of its type. So if you're using Ratha, that's going to be a power attack. If you're using a Tobi Kadachi, that's going to be a speed attack. It's always going to use that basic attack of its type at first turn you swap it in. Unless, of course, you command it otherwise. Next, let's point out the synchro attack feature. If you are requiring more kinship gauge, this is probably worthwhile. However, if all you want to do is more damage, then you should let that prompt pass, and especially if the monster is toppled at the very beginning of the turn, as like what happened in this clip. I actually got 2 full turns of guaranteed crits from everyone in the party, aside from the very first attack by Simon. This not only heavily outdamaged the synchro attack, but also gave me 2 full turns without the monster being able to act. Lastly, kinship skills should almost always be separated. What I mean by this is that if you see, for example, Simon here is riding and about to launch his kinship skill, do not use yours alongside him in the same turn, as you're giving up an extra action for yourself this turn, such as a heal, get yourself back a heart, throw a paintball, buff, but then you're also stopping your AI companion from another free action next turn when you use your kinship skill, preventing 2 full turns by the enemy monster. This far outweighs the small damage increase the dual kinship skills give you. Another thing to look out for in Monster Hunter Stories 3, the companions seem to have an unlimited supply of vital essence and potions right when you seem to need it. I've not actually needed to heal a single time, and now that your health and hearts are fully recovered when leaving the battle, we don't actually need to worry about topping off anymore. So make the most of your companions' turns, and they look after you pretty well. Next, let's talk about the map. So much improved from the previous titles, having 100 barely hidden Poogies. Now they're actually somewhat rewarding to find, many times coming alongside other rewards, while also giving a tangible reward now with each one found. The chest here, for example, gave me the skill decoration for Divine Blessing, which is a nice little defensive RNG buff to throw on an empty slot in the early game. On the actual in-game map, don't make the mistake I made of not using it or looking at it. I've not seen a single review or tips video that makes a big enough deal of this map. Compared to previous iterations, this goes above and beyond. Not only giving you a better idea of the layout, but also showing your in-game markers, but also now what rarity level and exactly where these rare and super rare dens have spawned, which saves you a lot of time flying around and makes eggs farming very efficient. This is probably going to be one of the least utilized parts of the game by the major player base, so don't make this mistake. Final point now regarding dens. It seems rare and above you will almost always trigger a monster to spawn unless you take the first or second egg straight to the exit. More likely than not, you'll be forced to fight whatever spawns. I think the best way of dealing with which egg to choose, because of how the rite of channeling works in this game now, it's very streamlined. I recommend that you take the first rainbow egg that you get. I think the game calls it extremely potent. And basically take that and dip. The genes you get are probably worth it over taking something you could get in a normal den, as they seem to be more forgiving with multiple gacha spins on eggs without triggering any monsters to appear. But also, don't seem to produce any rainbow eggs in those normal dens. So, in your rare and super rare dens, you're only looking for the rainbow eggs, basically. One final bonus tip is that if you see something flying around, more often than not, it is shootable with your breath attack. Make sure you take advantage, as the blue Ian Cuckoo armor is significantly better than the base version, buffing your own fire element instead of just defending against oncoming fire element attacks. That's the end. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this gave you a few more advanced pointers, and if it did, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build a channel, and for me, every single sub makes a huge difference. Also, leave me a comment if there are any other advanced tips that you know that I missed off. See you in the next one.